This might have been one of my favorite flips, maybe ever. This is what it looked like when I picked it up off of Facebook Marketplace. And boy, oh boy, did I know this had so much potential. Look how beautiful it was. Those round knobs were there because those little indented hardware areas, it's like plastic, they were really not functional. So here's what it looks like before. Of course, we had to clean it with TSP, give it a good scuff sand, and get started. First, when I popped out all of those hardware, I had to fill the hole with my Bondo. This stuff takes a little bit of time to dry. It's actually quite quick, but it dries like rock hard. So you do have to sand for quite some time. And then of course, once you have it all filled and it's ready to go, then you might even need to do a couple layers. I think I had to do 2 layers on this stuff just to make sure that it was completely smooth and didn't have any like lumps or bumps or any grooves. You know what I mean? So that's what we're doing here. And then once that was completed, I took it outside and I sanded it so good. So here I'm doing a feel test. That's the technical term you didn't know, right? Just to make sure that it's completely smooth. Again, if it's not smooth, you will completely notice that. So here I needed to add more Bondo. I could tell just because it was still indented a little bit too much. If you don't do that, you're going to see exactly where that hole was before. So it's really not so great. Once that's done, you go back through and you do a good primer coat. I do 2 coats of primer. I always use Kills primer. I think it's the best. And that is what I'm doing here, using my brush to get in all the little nooks and crannies. This was kind of a time-consuming process, but generally primer coats don't take too long. Once that was done, I was ready to start painting my color. I chose Sherwin-Williams Pewter Green, and this color is my absolute favorite. It is so beautiful. 2 to 3 coats on this. I had to brush this little area, and then I sprayed the drawers and the tops and sides of the dresser. So here I am with my Graco spray gun, just going to town on this. I had to water down the paint, but I need to get a different tip for my Graco gun because this thing just eats all the paint. Like it just spits it out so quickly. So I went through way more paint than you normally would need. So once that was done, I had to take my brush. I used a foam brush just to do some touch-ups and make sure that everything was completely covered. Now, normally when given the choice, if I had to choose between brushing or even a foam roller or spraying, I will almost always choose spraying because it just gives it such a good finish. It looks so smooth. I love the way it looks, but it is a little bit expensive. So if you're just getting started with furniture flipping and you don't have a paint sprayer, you do not need one. It just helps a little bit. The next thing I had to do is I noticed that one of these drawers was broken. So I had to kind of cut it because it was warped and bent and just like it was a mess. So I had to cut that wood just a hair so that I could push it back down and get it back into place. And then I wood glued it back down to the bottom of the drawer and let it dry completely for about 24 hours. I had to add a little bit of weight on it as well. So I added a couple paint cans and a drill as we do and made it work. Now the last step was to add my hardware on here. I ordered these off of Amazon. It was antique bronze. It's going to be linked in the comments box below. But one tip with vintage furniture, make sure that you're not using a cabinet template because it will be completely uneven. You want to look at the drawers and then install the hardware from there. Here's what it looks like after. I was super happy with this flip. I really think this is one of my favorite colors I've ever painted a piece of furniture. I love it. It was such a good transformation. I bought it for $50. I sold it for $400 on Marketplace. Make sure you hit subscribe and follow along for more flips.